You guys, I cannot believe the gem of a video that I found the other day. I found the video, like the video, the day I decided that I was gonna go raw vegan. You guys, when I say that was like the beginning of the end, that was the beginning of the end. That was the end of my vegan journey because from there on out, which we'll talk about, I radically destroyed my health. But it was the beginning of my full recovery and of me getting my health back. So if you are someone who has been on this vegan journey, or someone who's in ED recovery, someone who's in orthorexia recovery, this video is for you. If you're new here, I talk a lot about my journey being vegan, getting out of veganism, and how that impacted my health. I know that when I was vegan and I started experiencing a lot of health issues, I started researching a lot online, specifically on YouTube, for people's stories and what they've been through. And so I'm just giving back now. If you need support in getting out of your vegan journey, like, I gotcha. I understand. I was there. And I get how it can be quite hard to leave this way of eating because you can really get in your head that like this is the best way to eat, that when it doesn't start like actually, producing good health for you, it can start to be kind of like a mind, like a mind F. Stupid YouTube and its algorithm. It can be really tricky on the mind to want to leave, and I know because I've been there. I love to share my experience because I think a lot of us are stuck in these places, right? Like I meet with hundreds of girls every year who are just stuck in this place of like, but my diet, and I have to hold on to it, and this is what's healthy, and this is what's great. And I'm like, you have had a period in years, you have insane digestive issues, your hair is falling out, and like, how is this healthy? So I just like love sharing this because I think it sometimes takes seeing someone else's journey to realize where we're at on our own journey. And this video that I found is like perfect for this, honestly. So let's just like quickly, I mean, in like a minute and 30 seconds, do a little recap here. Okay, had a bunch of eating disorders, but then decided, hey, I actually want to be really healthy, and I want to get my period back and I want to recover. So then I started, going on that journey, but it quickly turned into orthorexia, where it was like a fixation on clean eating, and I became so certain of like, this is the way for me to recover, and this is the way for me to like be healthy and get my period back and all of that. So veganism was definitely my like drug of choice, if you want to put it that way. I was so adamant about eating a vegan diet. Now, I was vegan for about 5 years. At this point, I have to be so clear with this. At this point, I was eating a lot of food. Like calorically, I was eating a lot. I was not purposely trying to restrict at that point, as far as like calories and stuff. I was eating a ton of nut butter. I was eating a ton of dried fruit. I was eating a ton of like vegan cheeses. I was doing a lot of tempura, a lot of beans, a lot of quinoa, a lot of things like that. So much so that my parents really laid off of my whole ED recovery journey because they were like, well, technically she's eating a lot. My mom was definitely not happy with me being vegan, but they were happy that I was eating a lot more. So again, vegan for 5 years. My health though, like did nothing but just continue to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And I have photos, gosh, I'm going to try and find them here, but I have photos of like me before going vegan, like in my ED. Yes, I was sick. I was not like healthy, but like I was starting to go on that process of recovery, right? And then I made this decision to go vegan, and then you see that difference years later, and you're like, whoa, that's when like Chloe's health really took a turn. So I started developing a lot of these big digestive issues. I think first and foremost, that was like my big kind of sign that something was off in my vegan diet, like bloating, constipation, gas, like to the point where I'm like bending over being like, I think I need to go to the hospital. Like this is so bad, so much constipation, constantly feeling heavy after meals, sloshy after meals. It was just not good. So digestive issues were really going crazy. I was losing a ton of muscle mass. And again, I know I had my history of an ED, but like I got myself to a point where I had built myself back up quite a bit before going vegan. And then that just like, even though I was eating a lot calorically, I couldn't maintain it. And I still didn't get my period back, and I still was having a lot of just other health complications, a lot of yellowing of my skin, just an overall lack of like vitality and health. So I decided at that point, because I was extremely orthorexic at that point, I was like, okay, well, veganism is the right diet. It is like the diet that I should be eating. If I'm not feeling well eating this way, then it must be because I'm not doing it right, and I'm not doing it like enough. Like it must be because of all the cooked food that I'm doing, right? And this is where this video just becomes lovely. But I decided, I was like, okay, after listening to all these YouTubers and Instagrammers, I think I'm going to decide to go raw vegan, and we are going to watch that video where I finally decided that, hey, my vegan diet is not enough. I need to be raw vegan. And I think it's really telling kind of how I was speaking about food and all. So let's go ahead and watch this together. And then I will make many comments in regards to myself and how crazy I was. Okay, first off, I just have to know who here has been vegan, any type of vegan, raw tofu, whatever it is, and has left. Like, can you click the like button for me right now if that's you? Who has left veganism? Just give that a little tap. I just want to gauge how many people have left veganism. If you have anything you want to share about your journey of leaving veganism, head down to the comments and write us a little note. I'd be really curious to hear. So let's continue on here.
I have lunch for the day. Just a big fat watermelon. Super hydrating, super good for the body. Detoxing.
Okay, so first off, cringe. Like, why am I so cringe? Like, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so cringe-worthy. I'm like super hydrating, detoxing. Like, what am I even talking about here? Like, see my obsession already with like detoxification, right? That's, I feel like the vegans are so just like on top of this concept of detoxification. And you know, something that I learned when I was studying dynamic eating psychology was the different phases that our body goes in. And there are times where, yes, indeed, maybe we need to detox a little bit more, right? But that's not like a forever season. We also need the building season, and we need the healing season, and we need the just, you know, maintaining season. We shouldn't be in detox season all the time, but I feel like every single vegan was always in detox season, and they were so adamant about always talking about detox that I was like, this is detoxing. I think it is really damaging when we're constantly in that state, and building phases can be extraordinarily healthy and extraordinarily needed. And I'm not talking about building as in like doing a bulk. I'm talking about building phases. Like I'm really building my health. I'm really building stamina, and I'm building strength. Okay, let's continue on here.
Pro tip for you guys: when you eat watermelon, you want to eat it completely solo. Don't be adding any bananas with your watermelon. Don't be adding bread with your watermelon. Don't be doing anything but just eating solely the watermelon, okay? It's really important to look at food combining. If you eat food that digest at different times, then you're going to be having a lot of bloating, a lot of digestive issues. If you want to get the full effect, the full benefits of a watermelon, then you got to make sure that you're doing it by itself. Don't be adding in other foods that are going to slow down the goodness that the watermelon provides.
Okay. We don't want to be slowing down the goodness that the watermelon provides, guys. We wouldn't want to be doing that. Food combining. It's an interesting topic that gets brought up a lot in the space of veganism. And I would love to give my perspective on this now. Being someone who is healthy now and has a great digestive system, I'm kind of just along the lines of, if you have a good digestive system, you don't need to be worrying about food combining. If you have an awful digestive system, then micromanaging food is going to seemingly like get rid of your digestive issues, but it does nothing to actually build up your system so that you can have some cheese with your watermelon and not bloat for 20 days. Now, obviously, everyone's different, right? There's no rules about this. Some people might notice that, yeah, when I eat watermelon with chicken, maybe I get bloated, okay? And so I'm not saying that it's like so awful to listen to your body, but it's just so, I don't know. It's just for me, like any level of really like overthinking food, that's when it just crosses the line of personally for me unhealthy, because then it becomes rules, then it becomes rigid, then it becomes structure, then it becomes like all these things that really just take away from like the flow of health that I have. Again, this is for me. I'm just sharing my experience here. But yeah, food combining is not something that I really entertain with clients, or we really, push for in terms of healing their digestive issues. If you are someone in an ED or in energy debt and you have digestive issues, I have a great masterclass called Awakening Your Digestive Flow, where I really dive into how to specifically help you through your digestive issues. And it's not going to be ways like food combining. But I feel like I'm just like rattling off the things that I've just, heard other people say. And um, yeah, let's move on, because this is where I start going like, so this is my decision to go vegan. I think the shocking thing here, that I just want to point out, is that I'm eating my lunch and I'm like just eating watermelon for lunch because I want to mono meal and I want to food combine properly. That's where this stuff like starts to get really dangerous and unhealthy, where I'm like, why did I think it was okay just to eat a whole watermelon? And it's volume eating, really, which I see a lot of my clients do, where they're like, I'm eating a ton of food, so much food. I'm like, yeah, you ate 12 mangoes. Like, sure, that's like volume wise a ton, but nutrition wise, being supportive for your metabolism wise, like that's not, it just simply is not. But it gives you that false illusion that it is. And I think that's why a lot of girls with EDs tend to go towards veganism, because they feel like they can eat a lot without like gaining weight, or yeah, without being like afraid calorically of the food. They would rather eat like 12, mangoes rather than just like a piece of pizza, because they're just like, yeah, they want to eat tons because their body's hungry, but they just don't want to calorically eat the amount that they need.
All right, so I just wanted to talk here for a second because a lot of people have been asking me questions after my post saying that I am going raw for the month of June. I am super excited about this. And I decided.
I love how like the thing that got me excited back in the day was eating raw broccoli. Like, oh geez.
Go raw for the month of June because I've just become very aware and very in tune with my body and how certain foods have been affecting my body. And I just want to like put out there and say, like, I do not think I'm a bad person or anything for eating the foods that I have in the past.
So I think it's so interesting to notice here how I said that. Like, I don't think I'm a bad person for like eating these foods. So you can tell that like at that point I was trying to do a lot of work with my relationship with food, being like my morals and like my self-worth like doesn't have anything to do with my food. I was trying to separate that, but it's just so clearly still ingrained in me, where I'm just like I'm saying I don't think I'm a bad person, but inside I'm like I'm a bad person. Um but it's interesting that I would even bring that up. Like, why is that even on my mind, that I would be a bad person for eating something that wasn't raw? It was like already in my mind of like, this is bad. Hey, I know you guys are probably watching this being like, cooked food is bad. And now I have to just claim I don't think I'm a bad person for having eaten these foods. But, and we'll dive into the but here.
The nights of chocolate bars, for the chocolate croissant I had a month ago, for the big bowls of pasta and the loaves of bread and things like that.
Okay, so I don't think I'm a bad person for eating the chocolate croissant a month ago. Like, let it go. Why am I still thinking about the chocolate croissant I had a month ago? That's absolutely ridiculous. And no, you're not a bad person for eating a chocolate croissant or a bowl of pasta or whatever it was I was talking about here.
I'm not choosing to go raw out of a place of hatred or out of a place of I don't think I'm a good person unless I'm going raw.
Oh, why do I even have to like make these statements? Like, that's the interesting part, that I have to make these statements of like, I think everyone's going to think that I'm going raw vegan out of a place of hatred. Because, yeah, it seems like a very crazy, insane diet. But I promise you, you guys, I'm not doing this from a place of hatred. I'm actually doing this because I truly just do love myself. And I only want to eat raw broccoli.
I'm going raw because I'm at this place where I'm very in tune with my body, and I'm just taking a step back and really being like, wow, what is serving me and what is not serving me right now?
Okay, so I was not in tune with my body, because in tune with my body would be I haven't had a period in 11 years. Let's do something about that. That's being in tune with my body. This was not that.
And what is not serving me is the overly processed food that I have, even me who's super, super healthy. I have just been sort of falling into this rut of just like, I don't know, eating chips, eating crackers. And I'm like, what? Why am I doing this? Like, there's such an abundance of good, fresh food out there. You know, I just had my big thing of watermelon. And I'm sort of just sick of it because eating highly processed food and overly cooked food just doesn't make me feel good. And so
Yeah, see, I start blaming the processed food, like the chips and the crackers. So, what is processed, guys? Is that processed, or is that just we made food into a chip and into a cracker? But I'm like sitting here being like, okay, I'm not feeling good. Like, I think, when I watched this, I remember how I was feeling at that moment, and was feeling pretty crappy. Like, I was not feeling healthy. I was not feeling good. It's just funny that I'm not looking into my vegan diet being something that's not supportive and sustainable for me. Instead, I'm looking at the chips that I'm eating, because that's the downfall of my health. Like,
I'm choosing to go raw out of this place of love, this love for life, this love to feel good and healthy and strong in my body and not weighed down, which is what the more processed cooked food was doing to me. So I just wanted to make that clear that this
I think it really is a narrative of like fried food or cooked food or processed food or like a stew or something like that is something that weighs you down. I like to view it now as those are foods that builds you up and that strengthen you and that nourish you and satiate you. So I just have like such a different like narrative towards food now. And that's why your narrative towards food is so important, because you can see how my perspective is these foods are heavy. So then I'd eat them and I'd feel heavy, instead of being like, these foods are really nourishing and like I eat them and I feel satiated. So like how we think about food really impacts how it makes us feel.
choice of mine is from a place of really just understanding how food affects my body and really wanting to just only put really super hydrating, cleansing, good, clean things into my body. And
That sense of purification, of cleanliness, of let's just only put hydrating, clean foods in. That like almost addiction and obsession with that idea of like detoxing and cleansing. I think it's because we're kind of told all the time that we live in such this toxic world. Which I'm not saying that like that we don't, right? But it's this idea of like, because our world's so toxic, I cannot be in it. I need to live in my bubble of just being super hydrated and cleansed. Again, instead of like building up our metabolism and really building up our body to just be able to handle the things. And this is where, healing orthorexia, it really is a tricky thing at times, because it's a balance, right? I'm not saying that think that tap water is the healthiest thing in the world. Like, I'm not dumb. I do understand the effects of tap water. I do understand what is in it. But it's just, I don't go on these crazy, I'm going to like not eat any cooked food and restrict myself because I need to cleanse type of like modes. Like I go about this with like, I'm going to really strengthen my body as much as I can and actually truly have strength. So hormonal health and hormonal balance. So have hormonal balance and have good sleep patterns and have good bowel movements and all of that. That's what I really prioritize. And for me, that involved me eventually going back and eating meat and eating those processed foods like chips. And that eventually strengthened my body. Let's continue on a little bit more here.
yeah, and watch as my energy changes, my skin changes, and my mood and all of that. So I'm super excited for this month of going raw.
All right. So that was it, guys. That was my month of going raw. It ended up being like let's see, that was in June. I was going raw. And then by August 19th, I completely left not only raw veganism, but I left veganism. And if you want to hear more about my journey, I really dive into it here. You'll hear how I healed my digestive issues, got my period back, and fully recovered from my EDs in just 4 months of me adding back in animal products. Here is this video for you to watch about my whole journey of leaving veganism and the effects that it had on my health. I appreciate you guys for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.